Alright, so I am excited. I just got back from checking my mail, and this is the box I got from HipComic. And no, this is not sponsored by HipComic nor Mark's Comics, which is a seller on Hip's Comics. But I'll talk more about them in a minute. You can see it's obviously been damaged, and I really hope that doesn't affect the contents, because I mean, look at that. This took a little while to get. There were some errors and things, and they said that's not typical of how they respond to customers and things, but yeah, I ordered several $100s worth of, I got some really good deals on some stuff, so we'll have to just check this out and see what's going on here. This unboxing, it's a little informal as far as camera work, but I just want to get this open and see where we stand. So I really hope these things aren't damaged. I got a couple of packages in already from why is the lighting? So anyway, sorry the video got disrupted. My phone is doing some weird stuff with lighting. But I already gotten some packages that I ordered from HipComic from different sellers. I already got those in. This one is 100% completely from Mark's Comics. Been dealing with or interacting with a man named Carl. I really hope these aren't damaged. I really, because this isn't looking good. This is, I've not received a package in this condition before, so I just a little worried, a little concerned. Alright, it's already kind of not off to a good start here. Okay, so that's my invoices. Alright, so I've just kind of been crammed in here, man. Like, that is just not very good. They had, instead of putting the packaging somewhere, you know, the paper packaging, instead of putting that somewhere where it could actually hold up the contents, they just basically let the whole thing flop and just crammed the packaging in there. I'm not very happy with that, but you know, I'm not complaining too much. Let's see what we got here. So I've started my collection of these things again. Like I said, for those of you who are new to the channel, this is only the third actual comic video that I have out right now. At least I'm pretty sure that's what it'll be once it actually gets on the site, on YouTube. But anyway, I lost like all my entire comic collection, so it's been years and years, and I stopped collecting around, I think it was 2010, 2011, somewhere around there. But anyway, maybe like no, actually I think it was 2016 exactly. So anyway, but I lost everything, so I'm trying to recollect, and I do like these Marvel Universe indexes, like the guide too. I especially like the older ones a little bit more than the more modern ones, but you will get more into those later in a different video. Got some WildCats going on here. Not all of these are boarded, which, you know, normally that's okay, but when you package something like this, I mean, it's just not, yeah, I'm just not thrilled with that. And some of these, like WildCats, you know, again, like most of the early Image 90s stuff, I did actually like the early part of their runs. when you get later on in this series, they just start like floundering a bit. But again, we'll get more into a lot of this stuff. We'll get more into later. I just want to go through this particular haul that just came in. I gotta go through and check and make sure I got everything too. I think there's still a bunch more to come, but I'm definitely getting my collection back. I'm really happy about that. Getting some older stuff. I never really collected a bunch of Hulks before, so this is actually my first time collecting a lot of Hulk, especially the older things, some earlier works. I will say, like, this is this is one of my favorite issues of X-Men. This and a couple around this era, well, we'll go into more of those specifics, but this one in particular, I believe it's this one. It's either this one or the one before, but they all go on vacation together. The 5 original X-Men, and I think they go to Canada or Alaska or something like that. There's someplace really snowy, and they go on a vacation, and it's basically them. I mean, yes, some stuff happens with some, villains and things like that, but I really liked it because it wasn't about the superhero thing specifically. It was just more of, getting to know them more as characters, where they're at in their lives at this point, how they interact with each other, how they goof around, what they argue about, just how they get along or not, or to what degree per each character and as a group. And I really liked it, I liked the X-Men in a lot of comics when it was more about that. Like even some of the Spider-Man, issues and stuff, when it was more about the characters and getting to know them more. And, the superhero thing was almost like, yes, it was a part of it, and it was still part of the appeal, but it wasn't in the forefront. It wasn't just action, or it wasn't just a superhero trope or villain of the week or whatever. But yeah, I really like some of that stuff. And I know some people might not like Scott Lobdell. I don't know the whole story behind that guy. I just know that some stories that are my favorites were written by him. Not only him, but he's one of the people that were writing some stuff I really liked. And then classic Doctor Who. Don't get me started on Chibnall era onward. Especially Russell T Davies' second coming, his return. Just explodes my brain hole. I've tried making videos, and it's so insane and batshit crazy that I ended up stopping making the video halfway through because I ended up having like this. I just have a stroke, and I have to go and recover. But what was important for season 4 about Henry's past, even though there was more to it.
I like totally understand. Makes sense, and it's not like the writing on things today, like with the Acolyte, or as you call it, Doctor Who. I should shush though. Wouldn't want to send you into strokey fits again.
And yeah, we don't want to. No. I'm not talking about Doctor Who, and no. Anyway, Stranger Things creators say that recover, but some of the earlier stuff, and especially some of the comics, I really like, and the Capaldi era back, I really, really enjoy. Yeah, so I've been collecting some more Doctor Who. I had a few things in my original collection, but nothing too crazy. And then again, you get the some thing on his own series when he had a spin-off from the Fantastic Four. There's just some of the art and logos from back in the day too that just looks really nice, and I like the vintage dated kind of look that they have nowadays, since they've aged and stuff. But yeah, I love the original movie Howard the Duck. I'll talk about that more another time. I know a lot of people might not like it. I really liked it. So I started getting back into the actual comics, and I'm enjoying them. I'm really enjoying them, especially when I did some research for a Howard the Duck video on the main ALT+SHIFT+NERD channel, where we do streaming and movies and stuff like that. I'll be doing that at some point. I've still got a few other things to do first that I've been promising for a little while. But yeah, so I started getting some stuff. There's more Howard the Duck. Now, I don't think they put all these in a particular order, but I think I ordered more WildCats too that'll be in here. But yeah, Howard the Duck is great, man. I mean, it's whimsical, but ventures into existentialism, a little bit of fourth wall breaking, and this is back in the day. Again, when you say fourth wall breaking, most people think Deadpool, and now some people might start thinking She-Hulk because it's been made known through the She-Hulk TV show that was just god-awful. But yeah, Howard the Duck did it a little bit back in the day, and it's a really nice comic. You guys should check out Howard the Duck. I haven't read any new stuff of Howard the Duck, and I'm really thrilled with his design in the MCU, but I still like the character. We'll see where they go with him. Hopefully they don't ruin him like they've ruined a bunch of other crap nowadays. And of course, this is Spider-Man and X-Factor. I didn't have this whole run before, because I don't think this, part 1 to 3, this is not a one-shot. But I did enjoy when Spider-Man teams up with some of the X-Men from the X-Men family of books. More Howard the Duck. And some of these issues are actually new to me, so not all. I've read some and some that I already have. And more Howard the Duck. Woo! So far the condition isn't too bad. I'm gonna have to rebag and reboard these though. These old ads, man, they're kind of so funny sometimes. And some of the Age of Apocalypses are expensive to recollect, but working on that, and I'm getting there. I'll go more over my new collection, what I've managed to reobtain over time. I'll go over that, maybe even in this video. We'll see how long this runs. I'm already at the 10-minute mark, I think. I don't know how that'll turn out in editing, but as far as right now, I do like some of this era of the Hulk, but I have to agree with some people that I like the earlier, more blocky Hulk, not this like handsome, good-looking guy. Even though I don't mind it, I mean it's cool. Just as far as the Hulk character goes, I think I prefer the old style, the original. And I like this artist. I can't remember his name right off the top of my head right now. But I do really like this artist. He's a little wonky at times, but and again, this is just my opinion, how I see things. But I almost kind of like the Wonk. Hashtag like the Wonk. More X-Force and Cable. I like some of the annuals, honestly. Some of the stories from a particular time. Now, Invasion of the Spider Slayers, at least around this time of the... around, after the 350 mark in Amazing Spider-Man, before 400, these can actually be pretty expensive to buy, unless you catch them on sale or get a bargain from, one store or site or another. And normally I like going to comic book stores, and I'd prefer to buy from comic book stores, but the ones here in my town are just, so far they're not the best. There's one or two I think I need to check out that I haven't had the chance to just yet, but yeah, it's just not the best. I mean, I went in there and they barely had any real comics. It was more everything else, and they weren't really very friendly or anything. And I'm not talking shit about it. I'm just saying what my experience was, So there'll be a good mix of some things. Now, most of this stuff will be older because, that was my collection back in the day that I want to recollect before I start getting to... I mean, I have some newer stuff, which you'll see in the videos and everything. Now, this one, I didn't think that this would be a huge issue, so I didn't think it would be, what it costs to actually buy this issue. But yeah, this can get, pretty up there, price-wise. So, but I was glad to find that actually on sale and at a bargain. And this is some more of the early Jim Lee run on X-Men with the Extinction Agenda and everything. I do really like this era too of the X-Men and stuff. I like this. This is coming off the Flanks at one point, the Flanks Covenant, and then they went into space, and then there was Flanks in space, which I'm not really sure what I felt about that. I like some of the stories themselves, but what they did with the Flanks, I'm not really... I don't know, some parts were just confusing based on what they were in the Flanks Covenant. But you gotta love the Cyclops and Cable father-son kind of thing going on. And of course, this is a precursor to the Executioner song, I believe. It was around that time. The 70th issue. For some reason, I used to have this one, and I keep seeing it everywhere, but it was just difficult for me to actually... Every time I thought I got it, I ended up not, or the person ended up canceling and saying it was not available. That's another reason I like going to the comic shops, is you can see it and touch it, and you know it's it's available. You don't have to, buy it, wait for it to ship, and then all of a sudden, a day or a week later, you get it, and something saying that it's, out of date. Now, see, I got this issue of Gen 13 again because it was on sale, and I liked the price, even though you saw this one in the last video that I did. It's a flip cover, but yeah. So yeah, sometimes I'll get duplicates or whatever just in case, because of deals and things that I run across in bargains. And there's some things I actually I resell on eBay. If I have too many copies, I will actually put those on eBay. But I keep duplicates a lot of times, not for everything, but especially after losing everything, And I've never really collected some Batman stuff. I was never really a huge DC guy when I was active in collecting, before I got tired of Marvel and DC. I got tired of the mainstream comics, and then Image at the time that I stopped collecting was folding or just getting a little wonky, and then Jim Lee sold a bunch of his properties, taking them to DC, and I don't know, I just wasn't that into comics at that point, even though I still loved the medium during that time, though I wasn't collecting. But I don't know, some things just didn't really appeal to me. And I was working on my own comics too, that I was having a real focus on, which I'll have a video about at some point. But yeah, so yeah, some of these will be a little bit of the older, and this one actually I think is a key issue, because it's, and it's usually a little more for this. Most of my comics I bought, when I was collecting as a teenager, I bought off the newsstand. I didn't have a whole lot of direct sale kind of stuff. So this is interesting for me, having a mix of, the direct sales, and stuff versus the newsstand editions. And there's some I have multiple copies of, the newsstand and the direct edition. And, I know Lobo was a cool series, back when it was first coming out and he was originally introduced, and I know he was popular. I didn't really collect a whole lot of him back then, because, again, I wasn't much of a DC guy. And I have some friends that really liked Lobo and collected him, but I'm kind of getting more into him. Plus, my tastes have actually changed and shifted over time. So, and there's several different versions of this particular issue too. There's one that's like all gold. This one is more grayish. And I think there's a third version. I'll have to look and see, but yeah. More Cable in the X-Force. This is kind of an annual. This one I really liked, and I wanted to recollect again. This one and the other one that I showed you previously. Cyberforce, again, I liked some of the early Cyberforce, and I do like what Mark Silvestri started doing with this new artist, and doing some stuff with more modern Cyberforce and Hunter Killer and things along those lines. Especially the artwork, it just really gets stellar and that sort of thing. But I am recollecting some Cyberforce. I don't know if I'll try for the whole entire run, but at least the ones that I really enjoyed and liked. And then this one I remember reading in Boy Scouts, and I got it, and it was the only comic that I was able to take with me to Boy Scouts, and so I was like reading this constantly when I wasn't doing badge work or whittling or other Boy Scouty things. I have some funny Boy Scout stories, but for another time. And then, got some magic action here. I remember when I remember some of the memes from her original, from the cover of her original debut, where some of the memes are talking about how she's jailbait and stuff like that. More Executioner song. And this is early X-Force that I started recollecting too. I've got a lot of the from number 1 onward. I got several number 1s with the still sealed with the cards. You saw a couple of them in the last video. 2 of them, I believe. And Zen. I remember when phone cards was a thing, and I was like, just hearing about Zen, and he was somewhat of an independent. He got a start at independent, but I think that became more well known through through time. Eternity Comics, and there was another publishing, Parody Press, I think, did something with Zen. But there was something else other than Eternity, I think, too. They did Near X and Zen, and I was getting into those, and then they had these calling cards with Zen on it. And I was like, man, I want comic, characters of my own that I have calling cards for and stuff. Back when you had to put minutes on your phone to use them. Well, some people, not everyone, but Zen is actually interesting, and I'll have a video about him too. The New Warriors, I was familiar with them. I had 1 or 2 issues. I wasn't really that into them, but then I found out Eric Larson did a run on them. The creator of Savage Dragon and the artist on that, and he did some Spider-Man stuff. And I'm not going to go into the whole thing about Eric Larson, but he's one of my favorite artists. And I know that he loved the New Warriors, especially Nova. And when I found that out, I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll check it out more, especially knowing that he did a run on them. And I'll of course, Mark Bagley did too, and I'll check out, more of the New Warriors, but, and I know Liefeld worked a little bit on a couple of New Warriors. I think that's where he got his start, if I'm remembering correctly. So, well, I'm just glad that these aren't as damaged as they were originally looking like at first. Some of these, are actually alright, especially the ones with the bags and the boards. And we got some more 10th, and I'll talk more about 10th as we go, if I don't have too much to say about some of these other issues. But I've got duplicates of some of these, because they can actually go for, a pretty penny, and I know it's an old term. I like old terms. Anyway, they can go for a pretty penny, so I try to collect, when I get a bargain on them, I try to collect as much duplicates of those as I can, to share, to have for myself as backups, and, occasionally I'll feel like selling something with the 10th, trying to put it back out in the marketplace. Some more Cyberforce there. WildCats there. I liked Warblade. I think he was underused and underrated. I think he was underdeveloped. He had a little bit of development through his feud with Riptide and then fighting over that one chick. I'm forgetting her name right now. Which I think this is what this Killer Instinct is about. Crap. I know her name. I'm blanking on it. How often do you guys have these brain farts where you know it and it's on the tip of your tongue, and then you just can't actually say it? It's another one of the official indexes to the Marvel Universe. And I have an interesting story about this. Tell me if you guys have ever had anything like this before. So, I'm a teenager, and I started creating this character named Ringer. And I have this design. He's got this orange costume with a couple of green things and some yellow here and there. And the way he has his helmet, he has some of his uniform is circular and stuff. And I developed this character, and I give him powers and a story, back when I was creating my own comic characters and stuff in high school. And all of a sudden, I go to a flea market, and I find one of these official guys. It was like the Dead Deluxe with the Red Skull prominent on the cover. And it's so funny because all of a sudden I'm flipping through the pages when I get back home. I'm going through the pages and reading about all the different characters and their histories, and all of a sudden, from the 1960s and 70s, there is a character named Ringer that looks very similar, not quite the same, but very similar, has a similar story and powers, and I'm like, well, crap, now I can't use that character because it's already been created, decades before, I created them, but it was just so uncanny, and that's part of a similar history I have with Doctor Who that I'll talk about another time. Running out of places on my Nintendo pillow. I need to create more space over here. Try not to bend or whatever these. Anyway, another big supersized annual. Supersized. This is another 11. This is one of the earlier ones. Sometimes X-Men back in those early runs could be a little weird. Still fun, but a little weird. I had a few original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles stuff by Eastman and Laird that I got from flea markets also when I was younger. So I haven't really gotten to a lot of the new stuff with IDW, so I thought this was a good chance to do that. And hey, keep your free comic book day comics when you get for free, because sometimes they what they're worth actually does spike up and that sort of thing. They're not always listed in the market value as free, for those who might not know. For those collectors who I might be getting into this new and stuff. But I remember the No Man's Land when it was advertised and everything. And I followed some of where the stories and the main things from DC was going back in the day, but I never really collected a whole lot of them. So some of this is kind of new to me. And especially, I go for some number ones too, just because. And so I look for key issues still. So that way when I find, bargains and deals, I go for it. And I'm not... more on this another time. And mainly the Tomb Raider thing. And she was teaming up with a bunch of stuff, a bunch of characters from Image at one point, like Witchblade, and I think even Wolverine and she or Cyblade. No, Cyblade, I think. But yeah, Spawn number 8. This was the very first Spawn comic I ever got. And again, I got it at a flea market in Alabama, and it was number 8. And this really changed a lot of how I viewed comics. Because before that, I was doing Cyberforce and X-Men, especially X-Men. I was really into X-Men, Spider-Man, and then I got a hold of Spawn. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this kind of helped shape a lot of my sensibilities as far as comics goes. In other words, this is the fried green. This is my fried green tomatoes of comics. And what I mean by that is, I used to think, when I was a teenager, like a young teenager, like an early teen, I was really into action movies and things along those lines. Not all action, but mainly action, adventure, fantasy. But when I saw Fried Green Tomatoes, normally a movie like that I would consider an adult movie. My parents would watch, and I just would not watch stuff. I just consider them boring and just well, if I want everyday life, I live my life, so I don't need to watch a movie about everyday life. I want the fantastical stuff. But I watched Fried Green Tomatoes, man, and that movie was awesome. I mean, it really hit with me. Even at such an early age, I think it was maybe 13-ish, somewhere around there in mainstream time. And yeah, I really connected with it, and that changed my entire world of my taste in movies and what movies can do and be, and that sort of thing. So this was kind of like the Fried Green Tomatoes of comics for me. So I collected Spawn up to issue 350 something, and then I was off and on with scattered issues I would collect after that. Back in the day, so I'm recollecting my Spawn collection. I'll try to get the whole run if I can and get into some of the new stuff. I've started looking into some of the new Spawn stuff. It sounds interesting. I'm interested to see where Todd McFarlane goes with it. But I got this mainly because of I do like some of the early Marvel Comics Presents and the team-ups, but I got this one mainly because of the Sam Keith. I really love Sam Keith work. It's really cool. And of course, a lot of the older Marvel Comics Presents and team-ups, many of them, not all, but many of them were flip comics, where you read to the middle from one side and then you flip it, and then you read to the middle on this side. For those of you who might not be aware, they're not really that big today. I think a couple people do them, but yeah. And then the Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix are always good stories. I think it's always a safe bet. Got another X-Men annual here. Mostly these annuals are around 64 pages or so. Ooh, I didn't realize this had the shiny cover. This is the 30th. Yeah, and this is the classic cover. In fact, in my comic that I'm working on, I do have a cover that'll be later in the series, around I don't know, somewhere between 7 and 8. I'm still getting placement. Anything after issue 4, I'm getting placement on. But I have a cover that's an homage to this, with one of my characters. It's just a great cover. I think Gargoyles. Yeah, I have a Gargoyles issue that plays on this. And of course, I collect as many source books and Bibles as I can. I have the Spawn Bible, like I said, the Marvel guide the official guide to the index to the Marvel Universe. I have these Cyberforce and Wildstorm ones, WildCats. Almost all of them had their some of them this is just for Cyberforce, and there's multiple issues for this. But Wildstorm Universe had their own, Wildstorm Universe 97, and I think there was other Wildstorm Universe, and then you had Image, and then you had some of each individual books. Not all, but some. And Cybernary, I hear, is really, really good. I had 1 or 2 issues, but I never followed the story fully. So, yeah, I've never heard of this one, and I got it at a decent price, so I thought I'd give it a try. I do like the artwork on the front. I like some of the cartoony style drawings. I like, you know, some others, but I really like a lot of cartoony kind of styles, personally. And this goes, Eclipse. This goes with my spoof collection of spoof comics and parodies like Splitting Image and Stupid and Venom and Sewage Dragoon and Cable TV and X-Farce and Skin 13. This he has his own appearance, almost like how you have Cable and X-Force, so then you have Cable TV and X-Farce. So he has his own that I've yet to collect at the moment. And then of course I have a bunch of which you saw in my first video on the channel. I should have a tag popping up on the video to show that, so you can follow the link. Oh no! Crap! Now there's a bunch on the bottom. That's no good. No. Hold on. Technical difficulties. All right, we somewhat got things sorted out. Let's go ahead and just put these on top here. Okay, so we got more Doctor Who. Yeah, and we have another WildCats. I bought some of the same issues, just with variant covers and stuff also. But my favorite Doctor of all time, not that you're asking, but if you did ask, I would tell you it's the 6th Doctor. I mean the 7th Doctor. I do like the 6th, but it's the 7th Doctor. I do like 10, but not as much as some people. No reason in particular. I'm just saying the 7th was actually my favorite, especially Curse of the Fenric and Ghostlight and a couple other ones from those episodes. ShadowHawk, I'm not really 100% sold on, but I've already started collecting it, so might as well, especially since it was a 0 issue, and I've got a couple of the number 1s of the different series that came out. I'm still trying to get into it a little bit. I don't have a verdict on that one, my stuff. I don't have an opinion yet, in other words, is my point. I have some Adam Warlock and the Infinity Watch, and then I've just started getting the Infinity Crusade now. This is a number 1. Direct edition, it looks like. And then I used to have this one too, and I really like the art on this run of Hulk. But again, I like I wish they kept with the old design, the old style. They can still make them, you know, obviously still draw them in this style, but I mean, I like the old look where he has more of the roundish, squarish features and the half a head of hair instead of looking almost like a model of some sort. So I really like that made him stand out a little bit more, you know what I mean? Instead of just like some of these people, they just look so, guys or girls, you know, they look so pretty and sexy, like all superheroes are models, which is not always the case. I like Coven too, because, you know, they started introducing different kinds of characters, you know, instead of just everybody being sexy as hell, you know. Then Generation X. I remember the TV show from this. It wasn't that great. It wasn't as bad as I think some people talk some mad smack about it. But yeah, it was alright. And of course, no collection is complete without some Savage Dragon. See, I got a good deal on it, so I ended up getting... And I think there's so many of these on the market that's why sometimes you can get them cheaper than other times. And another darker image. Now what card? I'll show the card at the end. If you guys didn't see it in the flip already when I flipped it over. Oh man. No. I'm about to buy. See, this is another reason I like having duplicates sometimes. Stuff like this. I need to set something heavy on top of it. Hold on. Alright, I just put it in that stack, so hopefully that'll help flatten it back out. Otherwise, I have a heat press, which they say you can use for cleaning and smoothing comics and things like that. So, and then the Ghost series, I remember it being advertised. We were seeing it on the newsstands. I might have had 1 or 2 issues when I was collecting, but you know, I'll be trying this out and letting you guys know how it is in a video. More of the Spider Slayer stuff, and these are actually, again, Mark Bagley, solid artist, very solid. I love his art, and I like this era of Spider-Man a lot. And of course, Preacher, and this is a special edition, so I don't know how different this is from the original, but I mainly collected the graphic novels of Preacher, and I hated the TV show. Maybe I'll do a video about that. I was glad the Sandman didn't go the same way as the Preacher TV show. And of course, some Maximum Carnage. These can go for decent prices. Well, higher prices, but I found it for a decent price, I guess is what I was trying to say. It just came out funky. This one as well. This is leading into some of the Maximum Carnage stuff, or around the same time. They went back and forth between the Amazing, you know, as you know, with crossovers. I don't need to say that too much, but yeah, I was back and forth. One time it would be about the Spider Slayer stuff here, and then Maximum Carnage stuff. Let me know what you guys thought about the Maximum Carnage. I know most people did like it. It was one of the better, well-received Spider-Man stories, but there are some people who don't like it out there. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you think of the Traveler. I thought he was a cool idea, and Kane was a little bit of a cool idea, but again, they just got crazy with the cheese whiz when it comes to that Clone Saga bullshit. And then I like there's several issues where in X-Men, not X-Men, X-Men, and the Amazing and Spider-Man issues or titles where he crossed over with X-Men, and I really like those. I like their dynamic, and I like what they offer to each other. There's some really good stories there. I would highly recommend looking into. Yeah, exactly. Here's another one. I would highly recommend looking into these. They're really good. These were actually hard to find until I got to HipComic, and then I found them at some really decent prices. I do like this storyline with Shriek and Carrion. I think this was also leading into the Maximum Carnage stuff. And again, you got some new Warriors with Amazing Spider-Man. Or Gen 13, as you saw in the last video, but we have more here. I think I'll just show you more of my collection another time in another video. Right now, because this is running, you know, a little long. But yeah, Recollecting Pit. I still have more to say on Gen 13. I'm not completely done with videos about them yet. So you can either unsubscribe now if you want to. So I'm giving you guys a heads up. I hope you subscribe though and stay subscribed.
I hope you subscribe to us and stay subscribed.
I really hope you guys leave us comments, let us know what you think, so we can have discussions about them, conversations. Again, like I was talking about with the Gen 13 books in my last video, how they were just fun early on, before they started changing and just mixing it up a whole lot and getting crazy with it. The Savage Dragon has always been kind of fun. You know, even though there's a lot of tropes, it's still just a fun, entertaining book. It doesn't take itself too seriously. Well, at times. There's times that it does, but that's not a bad thing. That does not work against it. My friend Josh was really into Prophet in high school, and Stephen Platt. I like Stephen Platt too, but I just never really got into Prophet. I know a little bit about him because of my friend. He comes with a trading card from Youngblood. But yeah, we still have this trading card. Which one's in here? Ooh. There's several that could be in here. It could be Bloodwolf. It could be Deathstroke. It could be the Max. We'll just have to wait and see. I have several of these too, like I do some of the other ones with the cards that are still sealed. But yeah, so I started collecting Prophet, remembering how much my friend liked it. And Mercy, I think. Something like that. I think it's Mercy. Again, I'm having a brain fart about her name, but I know it. But yeah, this is part of the Killer Instinct storyline that I showed you earlier in the video, where these two have a feud over her, but there's like a brainwashing thing happening at some point. I have to revisit the story to be more clear on the details. But yeah. Wetworks, I know a little bit about them. I didn't really collect this back in the day, so I've started recollecting Wetworks just to see what it's about and that sort of thing. And then, yeah, I got another. I have one or two of these already, but I got a good deal on it. It actually wasn't $3. I don't know why it's labeled that, but I got a good deal on this, so I just had to get it. It was actually less than $3. Same with this one. I think this one might have been like $1. And this one might have been like 75 cents, but I could not pass those up. And then I do actually kind of like the Gear Station. It's almost anthology-like. And I used to have the first issue. And so now I'm sort of collecting some of the other ones now that I'm recollecting. So I have 1 and 2 already. This one is 3 and 4. And then the Adrenaline, I haven't really collected those before. I knew about them, and they're connected to the 10th, which I just briefly touched on in the last video. So yeah, I'll let you guys know how that goes. I'm not really thrilled with that character in the 10th, to be honest with you. When I discuss the 10th, the highs and the lows, the good and the bad and the ugly, and the fistful of dollars, I'll go into the Adrenaline stuff too. And there's more profit. I mean, look at that though, man. I mean, this is very 90s, like where a lot of books was going for the McFarlane, Liefeld kind of highly detailed and rendered style, and the Jim Lee look and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it looks really great, man. I just wish there could have been more with Platt. Strike Force is a sister comic to Cyberforce. Stryker is the leader and kind of holds them all together. He's almost like a Cable Wolverine type. Not saying that he's supposed to be that. I'm just saying, in my eyes, he kind of reminds me of a mixture of Cable and Wolverine type of character. And then here's another one of the source books, and this is one of the Image Universe, I believe 97. That sticker's covering it up. I don't have my better camera right now, so I can go hands-free. But I was just so excited, I wanted to go ahead and, document this and share with you guys. And here's another. This is one of the individual. This is a separate one. This isn't like the one that I was showing you earlier. That there was a number 2 of. And then I have several of these, and I have more She and Tomoa and that sort of thing. And I do like Cyblade, even though she's very, very similar to Psylocke in a lot of ways. But I'm not saying that, that's what they were going for, but it reminds me a lot of Psylocke. And then the Deathmate stuff. These are actually pretty interesting. I like some Valiant. Let me know in the comments below how many of you guys out there watching this likes Valiant comics.
Yeah. You better let us know in the comments below.
But this was supposed to be really good, and I'd never read this before. So I've been collecting this is red, then there's a black, a yellow, a silver, and then there's a couple of other ones, and I think some actually have numbers on them. But most of them are colored instead of numbered. And so, yeah, I'll make a video on those at some point. This is another one of this is the Art of Homage Studio. I'll pop this baby open in a short video and go through it, because I've never owned this one before, so I'm curious. But I put this in my collection of like source books and art books and ash cans and things like that. I used to have number 3 of this, and it wasn't a very good book just based on issue number 3 that I used to have, but I thought I'd give it a chance. And I found a couple of 1 and 2 and some of the other ones at decent pricing, so I thought I would give that a shot. I hope the camera's not blurry and fuzzing too much. More Cyberforce. More Cyberforce. And I do like Ballistic. Ballistic has an interesting spin-off short. It's not like a full-blown series, but I do like it. It ties into Wetworks a little bit because it involves vampires and stuff, but not completely ties into that. But yeah, anyway. I think that's more when Image was somewhat unifying some of their characters and saying, oh yeah, they are in the same universe, kind of a thing. You know, I think in the beginning, from what I remember reading, they were supposed to be completely their own thing, but then they started doing crossovers, and some were established more in continuity with the other ones than not. Let me know if there's any Cyberforce fans out there. See, yeah, this is more the ballistic with the Wetworks. And more ballistic. I think Ballistic had a crossover Wolverine, I think. We saw the advertisement for this in the last video, and now here's number 1. So, like I said, I'll go into this, and now you can see I'm getting the comics so I can read them and let you know. Here's that another one of the Berserkers. Oh, WildCats. Freaking WildCats. Comic WildCats. More on the Larson run of X-Men. I mean, Spider-Man. See? Brain farts everywhere today.
Ew. That's so raunchy.
I remember seeing posters of Cardiac. I never really knew that much about him as a villain, so I don't know. I'd have to look and see if that's a Larson thing or if he just liked that, if he was already existed. I think Cardiac's a police officer during the day. Or X-Men. I like some of these with Sinister and Bishop and trying to connect timelines and playing with genetics and stuff. And there was a whole run issues like back to back that involved a bunch of stuff. And in this issue, the Beast and Bishop and they're trying to stop a train full of genetically altered or flawed mutants, like failed experiments of Sinister. And I believe this is in the Morlock tunnels or something like that. Or it came from there or something, and then it went into the city, and then if it got out, it could turn even more, expose more citizens to whatever gas or viral thing this is that Gamma and them are tackling here, and then make even more people like this, like just mutate into these monsters. In other words, it wasn't like a stable thing. And post on the road to OnSlaught. I also recently received a copy of Ben Grimm's Wedding, and I have 2 of these already. Long shot. Mojo a long shot. I know I can't sing. Sauron hasn't really been used a whole lot in the series, mainly earlier on when the Savage Land was. And yes, the Weapon X from the Age of Apocalypse. I have almost all of the Age of Apocalypse stuff collected. Not all, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there slowly but surely. And I have never really heard about this one, X-Men Forever. So, I mean, there's some Jim Lee artwork here. And this, I think, is in an X-Men #1, where you have, it's like a 4-fold poster, and you have, like, this top half on one side, and then this bottom half on the other side of the comic, with the pages in between. But, yeah, I'll have to look and see what this is about. It could just be recollecting some stuff, like some X books do. And, of course, there's, like, millions and millions of these, and I have several copies. And it's funny, because this looks like it has a crease right there, and the other copy I got from a different store has almost the exact same crease. That's interesting. And then this is after Bishop came through the portal for the first time, was introduced. And these are his 2 mates getting mowed down. Randall, and I forget the other guy's name. From that same era. Whilce Portacio, gotta love him. He's the guy who went on to do Wetworks. So got some Jae Lee Iron Fist here. We are almost at an end, my friends. And it's, oh wow, this might push an hour. But there's some classic stuff here. And let me know if this is a trip down memory lane for some of you guys. If you guys have any attachments to some of these issues that you're seeing, place that comment in the... Place that comment below. Of course, got some DV8 going on. DV8 I thought was interesting take, and I do like some of the crossovers with the Gen 13 gang. DV8 was very interesting. I'll have to go more into that in another video and just revisit it overall. I did like this trilogy of stories with Fairchild, but some of the other, what was going on with the rest of the team at this time, I wasn't that thrilled about, because this is around the time that I was thinking that Gen 13 was just getting a little wonky. Not as much of my taste as before. And I only recently found out about this Gen 13 book, and he's doing like a Stitch thing from Lilo and Stitch as Grunge, I guess, maybe. But it's a 3D special, and it's a #1. So this is new to me. Even though a lot of Gen 13 isn't, this is new to me. So I was eager to see what it was about. And of course, this is when they do that pirate thing and go into the jungle. Try to keep these from falling over. I really shouldn't do this on my bed anymore.
Let's, not kid ourselves here. You totally know what you gotta do. Click the like and subscribe buttons and, make yourself a bologna sandwich and a glass of Kool-Aid. Because, you can totally feel proud of yourself for accomplishing that.
Yeah, see, I got a good deal on this one. That's why I have duplicates. Have some good deals on people, man. I mean, get some good deals from people.
Another brain fart.
HipComic, actually, okay, so a little bit about that. I do like HipComic so far. This is my second time buying from them. My first time making a huge purchase. I think I've only bought like a handful, maybe 6 or less previously. They do Black Ops here. I had a couple of these issues previously, and I wanted to collect the whole series this time, get more of a picture of what the story is more about. And they actually cross over with DV8 that I was just talking about too, which is connected to Gen 13. They're more Gen active kids. So, yeah. But anyway, so far HipComic, I do like a lot of their prices when they're running sales and things like that. You gotta love yourself some bone.
That's what she said.
Just some Jeff Smith. But yeah, this is a cross-gen sampler of sorts where it has and I'm not really that familiar with cross-gen, and I got it at a good price. So I thought, hey, I'll check that out. And I have a couple of other cross-gen things. But anyway, so yeah, HipComic so far has been interesting. Most of them don't arrive in messed up packaging like this did, and this is the biggest package that I've received from them. But yeah, so far my experience has been pretty good, especially with Mark's Comics. So far I buy a lot from Mark's Comics, even before this particular batch. But this is the biggest that I bought from him. So yeah, not thrilled with how the shipping thing worked out. But other than that, I can't say anything bad, honestly. I can't say that was his fault either. I think it should have been packed better. Whenever I sell some of my stuff, I try to do is the best packaging and. To where it doesn't... yeah, I mean, they threw some paper in there for cushioning, but it was at an end that just pushed everything. So I think I can understand how that started to come apart, was the way it was being... Never mind, I don't need to nitpick about it. And I've started... I do actually have a guilty pleasure of liking some of the Death of Superman stuff. So I went ahead and started recollecting some of that, not all of it. And I do like some of the death and resurrection. I don't think they should have resurrected them, even though you knew they would. You knew they would. But I do like some of the stories that came from that. I can't say all of them. I can't say every issue, but I do like some of it. Maybe I'll save that for another video as well. And this is more of the, this is actually leading into the introduction of Post in OnSlaught. So it's a really good issue. I would recommend it. Yeah, and this is some of the earlier stuff that can be a little goofy, but fun goofy in the X-Men era. And then I have a crap ton of $20.99 books, and that's been expensive to recollect. I hated losing it when I had it the first time, but it's been really expensive to recollect some of these. Just letting you know. I've never heard of the damage control stuff, but I do like me some early era She-Hulk. The She-Hulk in the original run was okay when she was always wearing that tattered white whatever robe thing. But I do like John Barron's take on her, and I do like a lot of the issues that came from his run. I do think he redefined She-Hulk. I think he took her to places that, yeah, I think she really needed to go, that wasn't tropey and expected. And she even, like, crosses over with Howard the Duck during their run, too, which I like both. Some of these are the mainstream books. Some of them are updates based on the year, and some of them are like the Dead Deluxe, and some of them are a spotlight on villains and heroes. So they're not all like the same, but they're indexes nonetheless. And I was talking just about Eternity Comics and Nera X with Zen toward the beginning of this video, and here's one now. And I bought an issue of Cracked for a friend of mine. I just wish that they had... Okay, good, that's a post-it, not an actual sticker. I hate when they put stickers right on the cover of comics. It's like, who does that? You're not a proper collector if you do that.
You're not a proper collector if you do that.
And if you do that, don't let me know in the comments. I'll hate you forever. I'll always have a beef with you. But yeah, but I got this for a friend, even though I like Cracked too, but I have a friend of mine that I every time I see Cracked, I just think of him. So I'm going to be sending that to him. So that concludes it, my friends. That's it. And so, as promised, at the end of the video, I am showing the card that comes with this. And I'll, later on when I go through my collection, or when I just talk about this issue, I'll go through all the cards that I have that's still sealed and bagged with it. Which card is this one? Drum roll, please. And it's the Max. What I have to say about this, but I do remember a little bit about this. In fact, I have to special order one that, because every time I get one that's in the package, I'm always like, I don't want to open the package, I don't want to open the package. So I ended up searching for one that's already opened. So anyway, all right, that's it. This is almost an hour. I don't know how it's going to be with editing, probably a little over. But that's pretty much my haul for now. And I hope you guys enjoy it. And I have more on the way. This one is a more current unboxing than some of the other ones that I already started creating the videos for and already recorded. So, but I think this one I'm going to go ahead and throw up as the third episode. Anyway, we'll see you guys later. Let me know what you think about all these in the comics. These runs, any nostalgia that you feel, any particular sentimental attachment to some of these issues or series or characters. We love to hear from you. ALT+SHIFT+NERD Comix, over and out.